As Season 3 for Battlefield 2042 comes to an end, DICE released a more information-rich video regarding the next season, and they even gave us our first glimpse at Season 5's map. They still haven't addressed whether or not they plan to make additional content after Season 5 though, which keeps the game's longevity on unsure footing. Today, I want to firstly talk about what this new mystery map could be, then look at the growth of 2042 and discuss if DICE is planning to give it a longer support period and more seasons. Alright, so with this new Season 5 map, we have this concept art showing off the location, and we have a little bit of info to go off of about what map it might actually be. The original statement regarding this map read as this: in Season 5, you're going to see us lean into previous games and how they can show up in the world of 2042. The new Season 5 map coming will be a forgotten battlefield that last saw combat in the Battlefield 4 era, an overgrown area engulfed with vegetation and by the 2042 war. It'll encourage a combination of vehicular and infantry combat, meaning team play is the key to victory. Now, this description led many people, myself included, to assume that this was going to be a Battlefield 4 map remake, and immediately I was rooting for a Siege of Shanghai remaster. However, DICE later clarified that the Season 5 map is not a remake of a Battlefield 4 map, but it's sort of a setting that they've taken that could have been a war zone that was part of sort of the Battlefield 4 world, and how that war zone might look now, reclaimed by nature and things like that. So I guess this means that the map is more of a spiritual successor to, say, a Battlefield 4 map or location, but perhaps not exactly the same layout and more of a visual representation. The messaging is a bit hard to follow, but the image shows a map that I don't immediately recognize. So I asked you guys what you thought, and the most common guess was a Zavad 311 style map. Certainly the tree style and trains make a lot of sense, and the fact that this map is also intended to be a supply line for armaments fits right into that Zavad theme as well. That said, this specific location in the image doesn't immediately look like any actual spot in Zavad, so it might really just be an environmental successor and not really feature many or any of the original map areas. However, on Reddit, I also found this comment from Total FPS that says it's returning to a zone from the BF3, BF4 era. Now, Zavad wasn't in Battlefield 3. Does that mean that the map is pulling directly from a Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 location, or was that more just lumping the BF3, BF4 thing into the same boat because they were just such similar games? It's really hard to know what to make of these comments, and some of the other guesses I've seen have been Giants of Karelia and Golmud Railway, but I find these locations to be even less likely than Zavad. DICE's messaging is without question hard to follow, and perhaps that's the point, to keep us guessing. But most importantly, the map does look interesting from this initial concept art. Now, the recent video also showed us a glimpse of the Hourglass rework, which will be the final map rework. It was from a cave viewpoint, purposely hiding the rest of the map, but we know that there'll be some type of underground area. They mentioned enhancing the war-torn look of the map as seen in previous reworks and reducing travel time by adding in a new route under the highway. If this rework is on the same level as Exposure, then I'm super excited. Now, we also got a lot more imagery and details about the discarded rework coming with Season 4, and it looks very much improved with an entire objective being shifted around the map. The container ship now has a ton of added cover, both inside by the submarine and on top to create a better lookout situation. The previously open field area on the map has become a salvage yard, with flipped buses and trashed cars providing a lot of infantry cover. I gotta say, the location looks pretty legit. They also added a lot of smoke from a destroyed convoy to block line of sight on the map to make certain areas less open and vulnerable, especially when it comes to sniping or vehicles. And then they also moved an existing capture point much closer into the rest of the map to allow for better flow. I think the map looks like it has way better atmospherics overall, and it's cool that DICE is actually using smoke as a main tool to create blocked lines of sight. That's certainly one thing that the Frostbite engine has done well in the past, is lots of particles and atmospherics that don't seem to drop the frame rate too dramatically. I mean, for Battlefield 5's Firestorm mode, they literally had a giant wall of fire on at all times, and the game played perfectly well. Regardless, it sounds like Discarded is going to be a map where you might want to get your infrared optics unlocked, because I think you'll actually be able to see through this kind of environmental smoke as you can on other maps. Now, the rest of the video gave us some more visual details on the new map Flashpoint, and so far the response to this map has been very positive. It looks like just a good map for actually fighting. Visually, it's not over the top impressive or anything like that, but when looking closely at the layout, it really looks like there's going to be a lot of good firefight locations, choke points, interior engagement zones, and even sniping points at the top of mountains. It's looking like this map could be a real win in terms of actual gameplay. And surprisingly, the new weapons in Season 4 actually look really fun and interesting pretty much across the board. There's still a lot of holes in 2042's weapon lineup and plenty for DICE to add, which seems to be exactly what they're doing here. I'm most curious about the new assault rifle with the built-in suppressor. One of the default suppressed weapons in the game is currently my favorite, so perhaps this will be another favorite. Now, Battlefield 2042 has really shaped up over the past year. I think the game is quite good now. I certainly have a great time when I play, and they've also really stabilized the player base at a much higher concurrent count compared to before, so there aren't really many problems with matchmaking as long as you're picking the popular game modes. However, and I am repeating myself from other videos, I don't think that they're going to grow the concurrent player count much further without actually increasing the map drop rate. The trickle of content right now is enough to keep players kind of coming back and slightly engaged, but it just doesn't seem to be enough to actually instigate any much more growth beyond what they've already achieved. Plus, DICE still hasn't committed to a Season 6, and while you might be thinking that's a ways off, it's not really. Season 5 will come to an end in about 6 months. Each season lasts for 3 months, and if DICE is planning on a Season 6, well, I think it's safe to say that work on it probably already began. And I think that holding back news on additional content in the works would only hurt player perception of the game at this point. Speaking from my personal perspective, I like committing to games that I know that are going to have a much longer future of content ahead of them. So the sooner players can know that there's more content on the way, the better, in my opinion. Then again, if there isn't any additional content on the way after Season 5, then it's probably best for DICE to keep that info close and only announce it when they absolutely have to. Regardless, I think we'll know soon enough whether or not DICE plans to support this beyond the next 6 months. Let me know in the comments what you think that new mystery map is and what you hope DICE might remake down the road. It's certainly got my mind racing, and there was a very cool concept art that somebody did of an overgrown Siege of Shanghai on Twitter, and it really seemed to engage a lot of people as to what they actually want to see from Battlefield 2042 maps down the road. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Check out this video next that details what you're going to be experiencing in Season 4 when it drops, and I'll catch you guys next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.